Welcome back to Morning Line, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Nick Barris along with Clint Kelly, malpractice attorney, taking your calls at 737-7587. Next up, Joe always has to call and say hi. Joe, good morning, Joe.
Good morning. Just a question for Mr. Kelly. What's to keep a doctor, if he's got more than one or two or whatever malpractice suits against him and gets a judgment, what's to prevent him from taking bankruptcy like this drug distributor did on OxyContin? That they had so many cases against them, they just took bankruptcy. What's to prevent a doctor from doing the same thing?
That's a good question, Joe, and thanks for calling again. All doctors have malpractice insurance.
Is that a requirement? I mean, it's prudent, but it's not the law, is it?
It's not the law, but you can't practice in a hospital without it.
Okay, they know, because
and if you're in a physician group, the group's going to require you to have insurance or make you pay for their insurance. So let me repeat for everybody's watching this show, so everybody knows, doctors have insurance. So to Joe's point, you would not need a doctor to go bankrupt because he's going to have insurance to cover the judgment. And if the judgment exceeds the doctor's insurance coverage, then the patient may have the right to turn around and sue the doctor's insurance company and or his lawyers for failing to settle the case within a certain amount of money. Because if you expose the doctor to a judgment that's beyond his insurance coverage and the case should have been settled, then the doctor himself has a claim. But don't ever worry about a doctor going bankrupt. It won't happen because that's why he's got insurance.
Okay, great point. So you're saying you've not seen a doctor declare bankruptcy for this kind of circumstance?
Never.
Ever.
And same with hospitals. Hospitals got so much insurance or they're self-insured, that's never a concern for them either. They've got plenty of money to cover any judgment.
All right, let's go next to Amber. Amber, good morning. Hi, Amber.
Hi.
Hey, how can we help you?
Well, my fiance had, and this is the mesh thing, back in 2014, and this year started where he's been having pain over the years. We took him to the emergency room. I took him to see a physician, and he said, definitely we need to take the mesh out. So we went in and had that done, and I believe that was on a Tuesday. Thursday, his scrotum area had turned black. I called the doctor back and explained that the swelling and the color was not normal. He assured me, yes, it's normal, not a big deal. By Saturday morning, I took him back to the emergency room. They did an ultrasound and said that the testicle had died, all from this abdominal mesh removal. And when we did our checkup the following week or so, we another doctor actually had our doctor that took the testicle or mesh out was on vacation, so another doctor had to come in and remove the testicle, and we had to go back for visits, and they said that he just kind of laughed and said, well, I guess I just stuck two arteries together. And that was kind of the end of it.
When was the abdominal mesh removed, Amber?
The abdominal mesh was moved, I believe, in May of this year.
Okay.
And that was around Mother's Day. So.
And when, approximately, when did you or is this your fiance, when did he discover that his testicle was beginning to die? I mean, what signs or symptoms, discoloration, things like that? When did he notice that?
It started turning, it was an out-day patient. They kept him one night because of his blood pressure.
Okay.
And we came home, and I kept pictures every day since that since the mesh was removed. The scrotum area started turning not purple. It went straight to black.
All right.
And it kept swelling and swelling. We called. They said, do ice packs. It's all normal. When in fact, obviously, it was not normal.
How old's your fiance?
He turned 50.
Okay. Amber, I want you to call my office. Actually, you can call now. They're open, and ask to speak to Michelle. It's 615-8000000. That's 800-0000. It's easy to remember. you ask to speak to Michelle and let Michelle take down your information. I will respond to you in writing. What you need to make sure you tell Michelle, I want to know the name of the surgeon, where the surgery was performed, and dates. I want you to be real clear with the dates. And one thing that you're going to be asked, and I'll go ahead and ask you now, is why isn't it that you or your fiance didn't go back to the hospital any earlier after you noticed, or he noticed, that he was having trouble with his testicle?
After the surgery?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, when we called his office, he said, no, that's swelling, and because the mesh had entangled into all of the arteries or veins down there. They kept saying that's normal.
Mm-hmm.
I called him, and I said, let me bring him in. Let me let you look at him.
Mm-hmm.
And no, that's normal. Bruising and swelling of that area. Was a lot of trauma down there with tugging and whatever. Not to worry. And that Saturday, he could not walk.
And where'd this happen?
Horizon Medical Center in Dixon.
Okay. Well, call Michelle and give her that information, Amber, and I promise you I will get back to you as soon as I've had an opportunity to review this. This mesh litigation, I don't know what you know about it, but it has been, boy, I tell you, it's tough.
What's the mesh put in for in a man like him?
I'm assuming this is hernia mesh.
Okay, something like that.
I should have asked you that, but that's the assumption I'm making. These meshes break down. They've been... I could spend a show telling you all about the mesh. Just trust me on this. These meshes break down over time. And when they do, the surgeon has to go back in there, remove what remains of the mesh, and it can be kind of gooey, stretchy, tapey like stuff, and then put new mesh in there to fix the hernia. The mesh just, if you can think about it,
blocks the gap in the muscle wall.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Put on there, covers it, keeps things from coming out. In this case, what it sounds like Amber's describing is, in the course of this doctor repairing the mesh, that he cut off blood flow to the testicles in and around the area where the hernia was. And that blood flow, having been cut off, starves the testicle of oxygen. And when that happens, it's going to die. Just like a plant, if you don't water it, it's going to die. Question I've got, or I would have for the doctor, is once you get a phone call saying, hey, my testicle's turning blue, who tells a patient, oh, don't worry about it, that's okay? I mean, that's when you say, come on in, let me take a look at it.
Yeah, just let's check it out.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, and that's where you're going to standard of care.
Yeah.
Now, if the mesh got entangled and it's maybe a complicated thing, and maybe he did cut it off and didn't realize it, okay? You might say, okay, well, it's a complicated thing if the veins were in there with the mesh.
Procedure.
Yeah, risky procedure. So that's not necessarily unto itself. Okay, maybe he missed it, made a mistake there.
Right.
The problem for them comes in, like you said just now. They're calling and saying, wait a second, there's something wrong. Oh, no, that's normal. They should have known this was risky and that maybe we might have missed something. Let's look at it and fix it before that testicle dies. They didn't do that. So standard of care.
Yeah, I hope everybody caught that, just what Nick just said.
Again, I learned it from him.
There are many times where we all have procedures that are risky. And just because something bad happens as a result of the surgery, that doesn't mean that there was malpractice, because sometimes these things happen even when the doctor's doing the right job. The malpractice can occur when, after this situation is created, this risk becomes a campfire, the doctor is then notified and can do something about it. And rather than being proactive and saying, come on in, let me take a look at it and try to save your testicle, the doctor says, no, this is just post-operative swelling, take some more pain pills, call me back in a couple of days. Yeah. The campfire turns into a forest fire, and then you lose your testicle. That's where medical negligence takes place. Yep. So that's always the difference. And when you see these types of situations, it amazes me when a doctor's being called like that. It's just not hard to have somebody come and say, let me take a look at it.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, when you think about standard of care, I can think of situations myself, different medical condition, where I had some swelling or something that came up after the fact. Every time, same thing with my wife, with friends. Come on back in, let's have a look at that. I mean, I had some dental procedures. Come back in, let me have a look at it. Meaning they've never once, and most of the time, thankfully, it was nothing. Yeah. But they still wanted to look at it, and that is, to me, the standard of care. They're playing it safe. Maybe we missed something. Let's check it out.
Yeah, and a lot of times the doctor's tired. He sees a lot of patients, or he's got to go play golf or whatever.
But this guy's without a testicle now.
Yeah, exactly. And because I'm assuming, if it's what I think it is, rather than trying to intervene and save this man's testicle, he was more interested in going to play golf or more interested in getting home and eating dinner. and because of that, this man lost a testicle. What everybody understands is doctors make a lot of money, and part of the reason they make a lot of money is they're expected to handle situations like this.
Exactly.
That's what it's about.
That's
the oath you take.
What's a testicle worth?
Worth a lot to me. Even if you're not having children, if you're not having children, you always know when you're missing a testicle as a man.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, I mean, there are other things that testicles produce that, I don't know if it's going to affect him, and that's something I'm sure your assistant will ask.
I mean,
it's
part of your manhood you've lost.
And I'm sorry, she said he was in his 50s, I think?
50.
Okay, so.
I mean,
have you had a case like that before?
I had one that was young and I had one that was old. The one that was older was a case I couldn't take as lot.
Was it involving testicles or involving? And have you had cases with mesh before?
No.
No.
No, not like this. I had a testicular torsion case with a kid who was 24 and lost his testicle, and he was able to still reproduce, but with greater difficulty.
Sure.
And so I was able to get that case settled.
We'll take a break on that note. More phone calls, more of our conversation with Clint Kelly in our final segment. Some interesting calls today, right after this. Stay with us.